bow our heads. Our dear and gracious and holy Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful new day. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to gather together this day. I ask for a blessing of wisdom for everyone who is making decisions today, everyone who's presenting, that they would do the best for our community and for all of our different citizens. And just thank you, Lord, for the opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Next, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. May we have roll call, please?
Director Kale?
Here.
Director Porter? Director Nagy?
Here.
Director Samra? Director Amabile? Director Serrato? Director Pacheco?
Here.
Director Pedroso?
Here.
Director McDaniel?
Present.
Director Pereira?
I am here.
Director Silvera? And we do have a quorum.
Thank you. First up is the approval of the agenda. Do any of the directors or the executive directors have any comments on the agenda?
Not for me.
Anybody from the public? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Director Pereira, seconded by Director Nagy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. The next item is public comment. Public comment is now open for anyone to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have anyone in the room today who would like to comment? Have we received any public comments by phone or email, or do we have anyone online who wishes to provide comment to the board today?
Yes, we have a comment that was submitted, and I'd like to read that for the record, please. Hello, Transit JPA. This past weekend, I visited Merced from the Bay without a car by using Amtrak and bringing my bike. Even though I coincidentally came on one of the hottest weekends, I still really enjoyed the city and its surroundings. Below are a couple of photos of my bike on the roads between Merced and Planada, Plainsburg Drive, and Bear Creek, at the Merced Transpo at 4 a.m., waiting for the earliest Yards bus to Yosemite, and at the water tower. However, the reason I'm writing is that I avoided the bus for the first few days of my stay because I didn't have quarters to pay the fare. I only learned that the bus was fare-free July and August when a bus passed me on a road and I saw the fare-free ad on the back. Before my trip, I visited mercedthebus.com, which is how I knew that the normal fare was $1.50. But there is zero mention of fare-free July and August on either the homepage or the fares page. It would be nice if there would be a clearer indication in the future about rider alerts such as free fares, etc. Even now, I can't find any info on free fares even though I've actively been looking for it. An updated system map would also be nice, as according to the Wayback Machine, there has been no system map update since November 2024. Thanks for all you do and keep up the good work. Cheers, Yiming.
Yep.
All right, let me get my agenda here.
That was a written comment, and we have no one else on the line and none in the audience, so we can move on.
So nobody else is online? No. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak at public comment? Not seeing any. We'll now close public comment. Move on to item number 4, reports and presentations. We have Caltrans District 10.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll go over key project updates, information, and then open for questions.
Can you raise that?
Yep.
Raise the podium.
Are you right? Yeah.
There's a button
Oh, no, farther down.
on the wood.
we'll start with our Mustard Seismic Restoration Project. This is where we have 5 locations and 4 are done. 1 is left. The first location is, so the project is about 80% done. There are some punch list items we are working on. The construction contract acceptance date is November. So am I doing this or you are doing it? Yeah.
And we could just ask you to speak a little bit closer to the mic. Thank you.
So the first location is a Bear Creek Bridge, which is 50% done. And this is where we have some remaining work, the structure work, stage 1 on top of the deck is remaining. And then we have stages 2 and 3, which stage 1 will complete this week. And then stage 2 and 3 will complete October, end of October. So that's the last remaining active site. And then we have location, these are some pictures of location 1. We have location 2, which is there is no lane control. The team is working on punch list items where we get concurrence from maintenance. And same thing with location 3. There are few locations where striping needs to be done, but otherwise all the work on the deck is done. Same thing with location 4. Some pictures of location 4 work done. And then same with location 5. The team is, construction staff is really working on it, trying to get it done, the last remaining side.
I know the ones on State Route 152 are now open to 4 lanes.
And the next one is John Ereka rest area. That's the one where we had challenges with the concrete slab upheaving because of the expansive soil. So we addressed that issue. Now we have a few wastewater and water treatment plant issues. At the wastewater treatment plant, we have 2 burned out lift station pumps that the team is trying to repair. Contractor has taken the pumps out. They are repairing it, and once they recertify it, they'll be back online. There's a lead time of about 8 weeks. We are about 3.5 weeks already into it. Same thing with the backflow prevention device. The team is working on it, and they'll install it today. And the lead time is 6 to 8 weeks. For the solenoid valve, we're already into 3.5, but we can move around, go around with that one. So the surface water treatment plant, we got the board approval, and we are going to install the pH and temperature instrument next week and replace failed backflow preventer device. So, which is by Canal Authority, we can work forward with it. So we have 2, both sides, northbound and southbound. The northbound area, we are planning to open by end of next week, before the long weekend. The construction is working with maintenance, and they are trying to risk. The only risk is any equipment failure. We haven't tested the system yet. So if there's any equipment failure, then we might have to find a way around. The southbound rest area, we are still waiting on the lift pumps. So once they are repaired, then in the first week of September, we will do some testing, followed by assessing what caused the damage to the pumps. And then we'll open the southbound. So there's no definite date right now on that, but team is working on getting it open too. The risk there is the cause of the pump failure. Once we come to know if it's electrical or if it's something else, then that might take some time. So that's why we don't have a definite date on that one. The next is our 152 shared path project, where we were contributing minor A funds to the project. So there where, as you reported last time, headquarters had rejected that. So what we are doing is we are rewriting the conceptual report. And in the conceptual report, we are not mentioning any contribution or any ongoing work already there. So it'll be a standalone project, and we'll move forward. What we need is the local project schedule so that we can target when we will be contributing the measure funds. So we are moving forward with that. We already have a draft report, conceptual report. Soon it will be finalized, and then we'll contact headquarters again. Encampment. Encampment is where district works with our partners and give them advance notice, and we share with the CHP and other law enforcement, and we rotate through all the counties. So there's about 3 weeks rotation period, and then we post notices before we move forward. So the next posting will be on August 22nd. So we'll move forward with that. The work done so far on August 4th and 5th, these are the locations where encampments were removed. And so you see how many tents at each location. And these are within our state right-of-way locations. But what I didn't cover is it's our 299 widening project. That's where I reported last time we lost K funds to work forward. But now we got the K phase, which is where we work on our project initiation document report. So we got the funds back. Team is working on it. We lost about 2 months, but the schedule hasn't changed. So we are moving forward with our project study report, which will be ready on time. The other one is 162 Anchor project. That's where we ask headquarters to move it out by a year because of inaggregate and not enough time for right-of-way. So, but we were unsuccessful in that. So team is working on meeting the deadline. So by next June, we have to deliver the project. And the fallback is always asking for extension, but the funding will still remain in the same fiscal year. And just an update, it's a local project, local Los Banos project where they have a local project, Vineyard, Dove, and on 165, they were proposing improvements to that project. And we have other 2 locations in Los Banos, Volta and Wilmot, where we are proposing roundabouts. So this was a workshop to the public where we proposed the benefits, merits and demerits of both roundabout and signal. And we had one workshop a few months back where the public came out against roundabout, but this time they were all in favor of roundabout. So there were a few questions, but they were all in favor. So of course we use Gustine example and other projects. So with that, is there any question? Otherwise, I will take over the remaining part.
Does anybody have any questions? Not seeing anybody. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I know it's been a couple months since I've been here. My name is Caleb Brock. I'm the Acting Deputy District Director for Planning, Local Assistance, and Environmental Support in District 10. A couple of updates. On June 30th, CTC allocated $3.5 billion. There's a little over about $7 million within Merced County for the intersection control improvement project along State Route 140 in Planada. This will construct a single-lane roundabout west of Plainsburg Road to Sutter Street intersection. The project will improve safety, reduce the number of severe collisions along the corridor, and improve traffic flow. The project will also improve, replace, and rehabilitate drainage systems and increase pedestrian safety with the installation of a new pedestrian crosswalk. And then once completed, the motorists and pedestrians will have a safer and more reliable intersection along State Route 140 in Merced County. And then also during the August CTC meeting, there was another allocation, just over $7 million, to construct new transportation management system, also known as TMS, and widen highway shoulders and accommodate semi-truck turning radius, rehabilitate pavement, repair drainage system, and replace highway signs. Construction will take place at various locations along State Route 33, 140, 165, and I-5 in Merced and Stanislaus counties. And the funding will be used to improve highway infrastructure, resulting in safer and more reliable roadway for the traveling public. And I have two funding opportunities. The first one is Wildlife Conservation Board. Grant provides funding for planning and implementation for projects that construct, repair, modify, remove transportation infrastructure or water resources infrastructure to improve passage for wildlife or fish. That is currently ongoing, and there's $5 million available for that. And then the second one is for Clean California Community Cleanup and Grant. This one's coming soon. It's going to be posting in September, and applications will be due in November. And there's $25 million available for this competitive program. It's to help locals with litter abatement along the local right-of-way of streets. And the goal is to clean up litter, graffiti, and establish workforce pathways for vulnerable populations. And then lastly, I'll just end with, we look forward to receiving the 24-25 OWP year-end package. And we also, the planning team wanted to thank Nav and Renee and for their cooperation and efforts with submitting the request for reimbursements and quarterly progress reports for the overall work program. And the MCAG team is always great partners, and we appreciate everyone's attention to detail and the hard work that you guys do and the partnership that we have. So happy to take any questions or clarifications that the board may have at this time.
Does anybody have any questions? Director Pereira.
Thank you. So in that $3.5 billion, is there any money available for the raising of Highway 152 out at San Luis Reservoir?
There wasn't any allocated.
Is it already allocated? I mean, it's all allocated already, or there's money available for new projects?
So the 3.5 was allocated for projects, and I just went over the ones that were within.
Gotcha. Okay, the list is done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to just highlight the ones that are, within
Yeah.
your guys' jurisdiction.
No, I appreciate that.
Not seeing any other questions. Thank you for that report. Right, moving on to item 5, information items. These items are included for informational purposes. No presentation will be made by staff unless board members have questions. Does anybody have any questions on the information items? Not seeing. We will move on to item 6 is our consent calendar. All consent calendar items listed below may be acted upon with one vote unless specifically removed for separate consideration by a member of the board, a member of staff, or a member of the public. Would anyone like to remove any of the items on the consent calendar? Not seeing anyone. At this point, we'll open it up for public comment. Not seeing anyone. Bring it back to the dais.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Director Pereira, a second by Director Pedroso. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on, item 7, as our action items, they will be considered separately by the board. Public comment will be available during each item. Item 7A is direct staff to release a call for projects for the congestion mitigation and air quality program, and we will go to Christopher.
Good afternoon.
We're having, people online are having troubles hearing, and I know that it's working, but I'm gonna ask you to speak really close to the microphone.
Good afternoon.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Just lean in, Christopher.
I am here to.
Yeah.
You gotta be really close to it.
There we go.
Okay. I'm here to have a ask you guys to direct us to release a call for projects for the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Program. This is a federal program. This is not for greenhouse gas reductions. This is for PM 2.5, PM 10 with particulate matter, dust, stuff like that, and ozone. Agencies may submit multiple projects. The schedule has been modified slightly from what was originally proposed in order to better accommodate the needs of our member agencies. We are proposing a deadline of October 24th for applications with governing board action in December. The San Joaquin Valley is designated as a non-attainment zone for PM 2.5 and ozone, but we are in attainment for PM 10, so there will be limited funds for PM 10 projects. We have about $8 million available in funding, about $4 million per year. The 2027 FTIP has made 2 more years of funding available. To be eligible, these projects must be transportation related, and they must reduce the emissions of pollutants. This reduction is demonstrated through a modeling process that we have, and they must be located in or benefit a non-attainment area, which we are. Some examples of projects are transit capital expansion, ride share, active transportation, signal synchronization, roundabout, stuff like that. At least 20% of the projects must meet the cost effectiveness threshold, which is $88 per pound or better. And that is what I have. If I could get any questions you guys might have.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Christopher? Not seeing any. Does any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Not seeing anyone. We'll bring it back to the dais. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
So we have a motion by Director Pedroso and a second by Director Nagy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Christopher. Moving on to item 7B, adopt the 2026 One Voice Program goals and schedule, and we will turn it over to Mary Michael.
I guess this is how we're doing this now,
There
so.
we go.
That's better.
Good thinking, Marissa.
Thanks, Marissa. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The action item before you today is the annual request to approve the following year. So the 2026 One Voice Program goals and schedule. I know it just seems like we finished the program, but we always like to give the jurisdictions plenty of lead time to prepare for the next year and in your internal discussions about your policy priorities. So this year's program goals do not change at all from last year's and haven't changed significantly in several years. We're still encouraging each jurisdiction to consider the continuity of your staff and your delegates, electeds included when you think about who you're going to send for 2026. Consistent spokespeople tend to be more effective. We've heard from the delegates in debriefs over the last few years, and same with your policy priorities as you discuss those. If you haven't had any conclusion on those, we think it might be good for you guys to continue to be advocating for those priorities in 2026 as well. But that's certainly up to you as you consider those in the next couple of months. A couple of things we're adding to the schedule this year, and you'll see it. It's on page 149 in your packet, but it's also on the screen. We're adding in September and October this year, right after you guys approve this today, myself and Townsend Public Affairs will be reaching out with your staff to schedule individual jurisdictional meetings to discuss priorities. We're kind of just hoping that we can help you identify those policy priorities prior to you having those internal discussions and help that process go a little bit more smoothly. And then we would ask for you to submit both your priorities and delegates by December 1st. And then we will meet in January, have 2 to 3 delegation meetings, and we will bring the policy platform to the board for action in March, as we usually do. And at that point, we will jump full into program preparation April and May with delegation meetings in person, and with our trips scheduled for May 12th, 13th, and 14th in 2026. And that's the second biggest change, which we are incorporating a preparation day into the program this year. That was at the advice of the delegation this past year. For those that have been on the trip before, you know that we kind of hit the ground running really early in the morning on that first day of meetings. And so we thought, why don't we take a breath? We'll meet the afternoon before the day of the meetings, the 2 days of meetings start. We'll be able to feel like we really have a good preparation session, practice session with all the delegates in one room together. That's been difficult to do before we leave for DC the past few years. So this gives us a chance to really get everyone together to make sure we're all set for that following day and 2 very full days of meetings. And I think that concludes the majority of the changes for this year. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mary Michael? Director Nagy.
I had a question about that delegation practice session. Does that mean we'll be going a day earlier?
Yes. So
Come in at different times.
So we're incorporating a preparation day. So I think you were at the debrief and we talked about this. Was it your idea? I can't remember. I can't remember whose idea it was, but the group really thought that was an excellent idea. Fly out Monday, Tuesday, give the group some time if you want to have individual meetings with your jurisdictions. Some jurisdictions schedule their own meetings for different purposes, and then gather later in the afternoon as a full group to do a run through, make sure we get our last minute debrief from Townsend Public Affairs, and then we know when we wake up Wednesday morning, we're ready to go.
I think to that point, Mary Michael, on the schedule here, we probably need to plug that you're flying in on the 11th. When you just look at it here, it's like you're coming in on the 12th. You have those meetings on the 12th, but typically everybody comes in the night before.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we will make that perfectly clear to the jurisdictions when we have those follow-up meetings.
All right. Any other questions? Are there any questions from members of the public on this item? Not seeing anyone, we'll bring it back to the dais.
Move to approve.
Who is the second? Jimmy. All right, we have a motion by Director Nagy, a second by Director Pacheco. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Michael. Next, we have item 7C, provide direction on the draft 2026 Regional Transportation Improvement Program and authorize the release of the plan for public review. And we will go to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. This item is regarding, as the Chair just mentioned, our RTIP, we call it. So the State Transportation Improvement Program is a 5-year program, and every 2 years it's updated. It's a technical difficulty day, isn't it? I see it on the screens. So the statewide improvement program is updated every 2 years, and it has 2 components. One component is the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, which we're talking about today. And the other component is the Interregional Transportation Improvement Program, and that's the money that Caltrans controls specifically on projects. And someday we'll be asking for some of that money, so you know. Okay, so on this item, the California Transportation Commission takes a lot of time coming up with projections for how much funding they think will be coming in the next few years, and it can vary kind of wildly, anywhere from 2.5 million, 5 million. Last year, or last cycle, we had an allocation of 16.5. That was a high for a while. Thank you. This year, our target is 5.5 million. So that's what we're looking at as a target. This is still a very complex process to get a project in the STIP. It's not quite like with the measure where we can vote and everyone agrees and it goes in. There's, I think, a 77-page document about how to get in the STIP and how the program works. So as far as the recommendation, so the process is that with the action we're requesting today is that the board would direct us to put together the draft to go out for public review. And we essentially have 3 options for our share, called the RTIP. We can program it to a new project. This is very problematic at the moment, and we've talked with the jurisdictions and internally. Programming a new project is not very simple, as in the project has to have already gone through a lot of development. So starting from public outreach to engineering to design, and it has to have a funding package. It has to be an RFTIP. So it's very kind of well developed in that way. So we do have, and you'll see in the agenda, of course, the Pioneer Priority Policy. And it does, direct the priority for this kind of funding to Pioneer. The Pioneer project, the way I say it, it's having like a metamorphosis. So Los Banos, the council, the staff, they're going back out to the public. They're totally relooking at the project. I included a graphic in the agenda. That's not necessarily the final one, but they're looking at, okay, how can we segment this? Because we can't do this all at once, right? It's like over 100 million, I think. And so they're rethinking the project. So we don't have a single project that we could submit as part of this RTIP. So for example, the city is thinking of doing maybe just the first project, right? The intersection at Pioneer and Mercy Springs potentially, right? That's a project 1. We don't have that as a scope. It's not in our FTIP. We can't put it in because of the air quality issue. So I'm trying to say that we're, as staff, we're fully supportive of the project and all the projects and making sure they get funded. We're working with the city on Pioneer and what that looks like, but it can't go in the STIP this time because it doesn't meet the qualifications to put it in. So, and I can answer more questions on that if anyone has any, but technically I can't put it in. So, our second option is to program that 5.5 million to the existing project, the Atwater Merced Expressway. It is currently in our program with 45.7 million for construction in fiscal year 27-28. I understand from county staff that they have currently about a $17 million shortfall for the project. I'm sure some of that is increasing costs because they've been trying to get through environmental for almost 5 years. So they do have a shortfall for the project, and it's existing. So there aren't these hoops that we have to run through with the CTC to, validate our project because it's already there. The third option would be to not program our share and let it sit. Staff recommends against this, just in general. We don't like to leave funding on the table, but also the way this program works, I said it varies wildly from year to year, right? It could be 2.5 million, it could be 16 million, because state revenues, right? They're always saying, oh, gas is going down, inflation brought it up. There's all these factors that I remember at least once or twice since I've been doing MPO work, they had something like a 0 STIP. So if the money doesn't materialize next time, maybe, your funding might be put on hold or 0 or moved out further. So you want to kind of get it locked in. So my recommendation is not to let it sit there, but that's the staff recommendation up for you to decide. Let's see. I think that's all I have on my notes. So I'm happy to take any questions. And the request is that the direction you give us would be put into a draft document, go out for public review, and then we'd be back here at the board for approval after the review.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
I would just like to add, Mr. Chair, that we have had we met just this week again with staff at the City of Los Banos to make sure that there wasn't any concerns about this moving from not going on to Pioneer. That conversation went really well. I think they're making excellent progress, and the project that will come out of this local process with their outreach and with the city council will be unlike what we've seen previously with this project. So that's really exciting. They understood why we're making this recommendation. And I just yesterday and then again today checked in with Gary, the city manager, and he wanted to reach out to Director Amabile. And so I checked in again with him today and he confirmed that Director Amabile understood the reasoning behind. So I just because he's not here, I wanted to make sure that was on record.
Any other questions or comments? Just my only comment is that, I've been a big supporter of the Pioneer project and will always continue to be a big supporter. And I think that the current council understands that they have to be ready for these projects to move forward in order for us to put funding toward them. And I agree with staff's recommendation that I don't really want to see money just be set out there aside to potentially use in the future that potentially won't be there. And I think that we're far enough along in the Atwater-Merced Expressway that it makes sense to program that money to that project. I know we are having some challenges with the environmental right now. I'm hoping that at some point we can get that ironed out. So I'm very supportive of staff's recommendation. So are there any questions from the public on this item? Not seeing one, we'll bring it back to the dais. Thoughts, comments, a motion?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
Again, Atwater-Merced Expressway has been taking up so much of the money and the oxygen over the last few years. To be able to get that moving and get that done that would free up a lot of effort, a lot of energy, that money for those things. So moving that to the finish line, I think, is paramount. One project you mentioned is staff report, the Mission Avenue widening, currently Jim's district in connecting 99 to Highway 59. Big project there too. A lot of growth that in the Merced, a lot of growth coming off of Campus Parkway, the new sports complex as well. So there's a lot, big need there. That's a truck route as well. Roads are pretty chewed up, so getting that just a little. Yeah, it's certainly and that I think, and that's part of the Merced loop as well. So that may be a big priority as well. 59, 99 connectivity is a lot of things to say.
Thank you for your comments. All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion by Director Nagy and a second by Director Pedroso. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? McDaniel abstains. All right. And the motion carries almost unanimously with one abstention. Right, moving on, item 7D, let's authorize the submission of a letter to the California Transportation Commission opposing the request to allocate $400 million in SHOP funds to the BF Sisk Dam Raise and Reservoir Expansion Project. And we will go to Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am reluctantly making this request but I also want to clarify that I feel very strongly about this request, and that's to kind of do a dual path here. I want to start by emphasizing how important it is that we address our water storage challenges in California. I'm a farmer kid in the Westlands Water District, in particular on the west side of Fresno County. A valley kid. You can't grow up in this region without knowing the importance of additional water storage writ large for California. So I do just want to start with that by saying that this elevation project, or this dam raise project at the San Luis Reservoir, is an important project for the state of California. We have been able to listen in on the project development team meetings for this project over the last few years. And it was just, I want to say maybe a year and a half ago, that there was a growing discussion around now the need to elevate about a mile stretch of Highway 152 on the backside of the dam, or on the backside of the reservoir at Cottonwood Creek, to elevate that section by 10 feet, as with the dam raise, with the water elevation raise at capacity, it would come within about 4 feet of the roadway when the reservoir was full. And so if there were a seismic issue or any kind of activity, there was concern of flooding over the highway. And so we were made aware that there was going to be a project to elevate that 1 mile segment of 152. Up until about the spring, I in particular, and Elizabeth as well, participated in these project development team meetings largely just as a fly on the wall. I made it, they were very, very candid with us that they were on a schedule and that there was no request for funding at that time. Caltrans was providing oversight, and I found that the most important role I could play at the time would be the one to make sure that there was really good in advance communication with the communities about the impacts of this project moving forward. So we had talked about, about a year out from construction, making sure that our West Side communities in particular were aware of the traffic impacts, and giving people time whose livelihoods were over the hill time to prepare and everything else. So that had been kind of, I'll say, the vein of which I'd really been paying attention and listening and participating. It was late, early summer that we were made aware of some conversations that there was now an increase in the cost for this project from 150 to 550 million. And that there were efforts there was a bill that was run by Assemblymember Soria to move general fund, or try to utilize $400 million of general fund money. And it was in late July that I became aware, in a conversation with Assemblymember Soria's office, that there was some floating around of this idea of using SHOP funds. SHOP, as Caltrans can much better address or answer questions specifically, I'm sorry guys if you have them about SHOP in particular, is really a highway maintenance and safety program. It's all about operational safety and maintenance on our highways. I would say it's probably the largest source of funding for investment on state highways, the projects that we see happen in Merced County. And at the time when I heard that, I was somewhat dismissive, because in my mind, the two did not equate. Ultimately, thinking this was not a SHOP eligible project, in my opinion, at that time. And it had just kind of not gone anywhere after that. That was in late July. And then I did email a heads up to the board about this item. And it was on that same day that what preceded that was that I had received a copy of a letter that was being circulated to garner support from the San Luis Delta Mendota Water Authority for a request of $400 million in SHOP. So, and then subsequently received from our District 10 director a letter that was signed by a number of state legislators, including Senator Caballero and Assemblywoman Esmeralda Soria. And it was a lot of momentum building around the SHOP request. Since that time, I have lost, it has consumed my days. I have lost count of how many conversations I have had. But the request to put on this agenda to do a letter to oppose the use of SHOP was not done lightly. But I feel very strongly it is absolutely my responsibility to help underscore the importance of preserving and preserving the integrity of the SHOP program, and not this would be a more than what District 10 gets for an 8-county region on one project that is addressing it is addressing a sub project or a sub issue that is tied to the water project, which is important. But SHOP is just too precious of a resource. And quite frankly, this not being a SHOP eligible project would set a precedent that we probably don't want to go down. So I know I'm kind of rambling, but I'm trying to be as comprehensive as possible. This has been a really big project on my workload for some time, but I think it just crescendoed into a bigger conversation. I have been talking to the CTC, the California Transportation Commission, who received the letter, to our Caltrans staff, to Caltrans headquarters, the Assemblywoman's office, so on and so forth. And what I'm requesting is the ability for me to I'm happy to be the author of the letter, to sign the letter, but to just communicate to the CTC, since this project is in our district, and I have been receiving calls from all over the state of California wanting to know why we were trying to use SHOP for this project, to just say that while this is an incredibly important water storage project, and we completely support all other efforts to find alternative funding solutions, that we cannot utilize the SHOP project for this because there would be dire consequences to funding critical state highway safety projects in Merced County and District 10.
Right. Director McDaniel.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I completely agree with you. We definitely want more water storage. The whole time I was excited about this project as it was moving forward, understanding that the ratepayers, the water users, were going to pay for that road. I don't think it should be on the burden of the entire California taxpayers. Caltrans, I mean, you guys should do the project, but it shouldn't come out of your budget. That what we're doing here. We want to finish the 99, and all of a sudden now we're throwing money at this, and we're been advocating on the 99. I mean, it's just Metropolitan Water District should be the one paying for this. Who's going to be the most beneficial out of this project, and how are they able to use politics to reshuffle the money to be coming from everybody else? So I am glad you stood up for this. I was excited about this project until I heard about the funding, but it is definitely not there. And sitting on the policy council for the entire county, or for the entire valley, we're always fighting for funding, and yet we all work together very well of dispersing the funding, and we actually back each other whenever they ask for it. And for this to come forward the way it is, it's just not right, and kind of reminds me of redistricting. Thank you.
Any other comments? Director Nagy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One question first, and that's who will be getting the water? It's, from what I understand, it's not going to be Merced County or District 10. So we're being asked to put our money towards it. The second thing is I think we ought to extend this letter's recipients far beyond just the CTC. I think it should go to all the electeds at the state and national level, because they need to get involved with this, because actually they do oversee it. So as far as the water goes. So thank you.
Director Pedroso.
I'm not going to add any more than what's already been said, because I really agree with it, and I believe in the integrity of the project, but not paying for it this way. Unfortunately, right now our state legislature is claiming transparency, but they're not practicing it, and so we're being left to foot it when it shouldn't be us. And I think that I agree that I think we should send this letter out to as many people, the legislature, as we can, and send it to Congressman Gray's office to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, because I think this is something that shouldn't be this way. So thank you.
Director Pereira.
Yeah. Stacy, what are the other COGs in District 10? Are they writing letters as well?
I didn't want to get over my skis on this in terms of, I think there was some deference to us wanting to know. There was a lot of, this happened very quickly. And it was actually the hour after we had our August COG directors meeting. I did reach out to the District 10 directors in Stanislaus and in San Joaquin. There was just a lot of confusion. They were like, is this you all? And we said no. And so not wanting to get out over my skis, as I said, I'm going to go to my board and let me get through that process. And then I'm adding it to the directors, the Valley COG directors meeting for September. And if successful, if provided here that I'm able to do it, then I'll do the letter and provide a copy there and ask for a Valley letter as well.
And then, and as far as the shop funding, is it right that there is about 300 million a year available?
Well, I will. Please do not hesitate, Anon or Caleb, to correct me here. But as I understand it, it's not an allocation. It is based on need, a collection of kind of what projects are needed and all over all the districts. What I was told is that District 10 has historically gotten about 280 to 310 for the whole 8-county region. So it's not like a fixed number, but it's generally been in that ballpark. I see Caleb furrowing his brow, but
I did encourage you to come up until we.
Yeah.
We're given.
Please correct me. But in talking to Grace, that's where I got this 300 million.
I think that's about right. I heard that the 400 was going to be more than what we usually get. So
yes, for the whole 8-county region of District 10.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So then would it be I guess a logical ask? I mean, I know that it sets a precedent for shop money and we probably don't want that to happen, but if we realize that it's going to happen, could then we request that the shop allocation be 700 million instead of the 300-ish because of need, and see if we can't?
Well, I guess I will, in an oversimplified answer, this project is on paper to demonstrate a need. It doesn't demonstrate that it's even eligible for the funding because of the type of project it is. So there are warrants. They're going to look at safety issues. So, for example, I understand that the district has a pavement anchor project in the same vicinity that's about 15 miles, and that project does not include the improvements that the water project is needing to this section. Meaning if it was meeting the warrants or the threshold to be eligible for shop because of the disrepair of the bridge or the disrepair of the pavement, it would be picked up in that process. But because from what I understand, and please you will not insult me at all if you have to come in and correct me on this. So open mic for that, please. But as I understand, in speaking with the District 10 director, that it's that the dam project is triggering changes that are not otherwise needed. So I can ask that question and say, well, what does that look like? But I think it will be very difficult. And from what I can tell, there's a pretty strong agreement in the transportation realm that this project wouldn't be shop eligible. But everyone else that I have talked to about that has also said, but what else could what other funds could be used? So, there's even some water bond money that is being explored that was returned from another project. So I definitely know that that from headquarters down and CTC, the sense I get is that there is a general commitment across all parties to try to find funding for this project. It's just that shop is really difficult. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments? I'm going to echo what my colleagues echoed is that it's not that I'm still in favor. I think it's a good project. I think it's something that benefits. It's not as simple as that drop of water goes to Metropolitan. There's all kinds of water that gets exchanged all along the way, and I think more water helps everybody be able to do that. I just think at this time it's just like if you bring it back down to a city level. If new development comes in, they pay their fair share, they pay their way. This, in a sense, is new development. I think if there's anything a person should be upset by is that it costs $550 million to raise 10 feet up for a mile of road. That's what really should be having everybody frustrated. That just blows my mind. It's $500 million to raise a road 10 feet. I get it. It's a bunch of rock under there. I see it. I drive over it. But that's what's scary about it. But I am in support of this not being shop eligible, and sending a letter of stating that, and also think that, you know, if there's a way to explore to help be able to find funding for it, I'm not opposed to that at all. But I think that it sets a precedent, and it's now what's the next project somewhere, and we probably would get a lot of pushback from other districts if we were the district that set. Well, it's not going to be us that sets it, but would be in support of setting the precedent of doing new road projects that are supposed to be set aside for maintaining the ones that we already have. So, all right, are there any other questions from my colleagues? Are there any questions from members of the public on this item?
She's just preparing.
Oh, okay. Nobody online? All right. That will bring it back to the dais, and Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Pedroso and a second by Nagy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, hold on one second.
Yeah, is this for Stacy to send a letter or for us to send a letter?
Go ahead.
I would be happy to send a letter on behalf of the agency.
Okay.
All right, would it be more effective if we all sign, I mean, with all our signatures on it? Is that kind of just your question? I think that'd be okay.
I am happy to send a letter with whomever would like to sign it.
Well, I guess then I would like to get clarification on that. I think Stacy sends the letter out now on behalf of MCAG, and if at some point you feel that it would be more beneficial to have everybody sign it, well then bring it back and let's have that discussion.
Okay.
Each agency.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think we can leave that up to you to kind of decide, but in the immediate, so that you're ready for your next COG meeting of COG directors, you at least have some direction that says that MCAG is not in support of this. All right? Maggie?
I would also like to get a copy of the letter, possibly to all the cities in case they want to send their own letter. They can format it the same way.
Will do.
Okay. So now I will call for the vote one more time. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, item 8. These are discussion items. Items will be presented separately in order to allow board members to ask questions or to provide staff direction. We have an update on the development of the health and environmental justice analysis. I don't want to mess this. Sunyi?
Shunyi.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. I'm not here for public comments, but to present item 8A on your agenda packet. So this item is just to provide a brief update regarding a new project that we kicked off in July. We call it HIJA for short. So just refresh our memory, back in June, we received the board's approval to procure consultants from the firm Ramey and Associates to provide technical support for this project. And today, Paige Cruza is online with us, who will also join me for the second part of the presentation. We're also very excited because Ramey has brought on board Youth Leadership Institute. You can see the YLI logo for that organization. They are a very active community-based organization with established community ties, and we're certainly hope to leverage their rich local knowledge for better community engagement outcomes, which is going to be a huge part for this project as well. So I'm just going to quickly go over a little background and the reason why we conduct this study, and the reason is really twofold. First is to support our development of the RTP-SCS, the Regional Transportation Plan, especially for the environmental justice analysis and Title VI analysis, which despite recent federal regulation changes, the EJ and Title VI analysis is still required per the RTP development guidelines issued by the California Transportation Commission, or the CTC. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you can see the term adverse effect. So adverse effects defined in the RTP development guideline is the totality of significantly negative human health and environmental effects. So putting into transportation context, the combined purpose of the EJ and Title VI analysis for the RTP SCS is really just to make sure that community groups who are already disadvantaged or historically considered as underserved don't end up disproportionately bearing any negative health and environmental impacts from our proposed plans and investments in the RTP. Next slide, please. So we also receive guidelines from various state agencies. As you can see here, we have Caltrans, some language from Caltrans, and also the California Air Resource Board. And these requirements speak nicely to the second reason why we want to conduct the HEJA study. This study is a great opportunity to develop a deeper understanding of the region, especially on the linkage between public health and transportation. And we're planning to do that through both mapping and extensive community outreach. So for example, building a new road or a highway bypass may help reduce congestion, but it could also bring more noise and create safety concerns for the nearby neighborhoods. So it is important to not only use existing data sources for environmental justice, but also to gather qualitative data through community outreach to really understand both the challenges and the vision that the community holds. So with that, we're really excited to work with a community-based organization to make sure to capture those local nuances through in-person workshops and tabling at the later stage of this project and use those findings to help shape future plans. With that, I'll turn to Paige to talk a little bit more about the project setup and deliverables. So if you can hear us okay, take it away.
Thanks so much, Shannon. All right, nice to be with y'all virtually today. I look forward to meeting y'all in the next couple of months. As Shinyi just outlined, the main purpose of this project is really to identify opportunities to maximize the positive impact that the Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy has on the region, especially related to health outcomes and environmental justice communities. As such, YLI, our partner Youth Leadership Institute in Merced, will be conducting the community engagement, focusing that within identified environmental justice communities. And I'll get to a little bit more about what those communities are momentarily, or at least what the criteria are we're using to define them. And then we will also be conducting interviews with some local experts and leaders in specific sectors and communities and experts around certain issues to ensure a robust range of information is considered in developing the RTP-SCS. So especially filling any information knowledge gaps that are not addressed by yourselves as board members and the technical review board and the RTP roundtable. So trying to make sure that we're not missing valuable perspectives. And then finally, once the analysis and recommendations have been completed, we will be developing a community outreach toolkit for MCAG to use in 2026 and beyond to engage community members in especially multiple languages and explain sort of who you are to different community members who may not have ever heard of you, since many people have not. Next slide, please. So we have been, the contract, you approved the contract in late June. We had our kickoff the first week of July and have been preparing the existing conditions report since then. And then also testing out methodology and criteria for identifying those environmental justice communities, and are in the process currently of drafting materials and a community survey for community engagement. So we'll be in September really be doing the bulk of the community engagement and data collection. And so we're finalizing the process of identifying those environmental justice communities. We presented our draft community maps and criteria to the RTP roundtable last Friday, and have already revised those based on those feedback, and then are just in final conversation with MCAG staff around if the current criteria are communities based on census tract, but possibly changing those outlines to follow traffic analysis zones instead, TAZs. So we'll be finalizing those hopefully this week, no later than early this coming week, and focusing outreach within those communities to ensure that we're really hearing from community members most impacted by transportation challenges and potential burdens such as air pollution of transportation investments. We'll be coming back to the board as well as the TRB and roundtable in October, and then in November as well, to present the findings from that September community engagement process, as well as draft recommendations, and intend to have the final EJA report available for adoption at the December board meeting, so that it can be incorporated into the full RTP-SCS. Any questions or any?
Does anybody have any questions? I guess I have one question for you. In when you're developing this strategy, and so is it you're just developing the strategy to engage the community, or will you actually be developing the strategy and engaging the community?
Oh, thanks for that clarification question. So we are working on the identification of the identifying which the criteria are that identify the environmental justice communities. So what specific threshold of linguistically isolated households, concentration of residents of color, and environmental pollutants and poverty or sort of economic disadvantage are the criteria that we're utilizing, and so figuring out what the thresholds are specifically to use as criteria for Merced County is really sort of the decision point that we're finalizing right now. And then we will be conducting interviews related to those additional perspectives, and we'll be working with YLI to actually be in person around intercept surveys with residents of key communities, as well as other engagement opportunities, probably a few. We'll definitely be doing some focus groups with residents as well, coordinated with community partners in those same communities.
Sorry, so I do want to add, so we're still in the development kind of like stage for those community workshop and also survey questions. I don't know if Mike or Elizabeth wanted to add on more, but a huge part of the Title VI guideline is to really encourage us to conduct community outreach in community groups that are historically hard to reach. For example, groups that are having or experience a little bit of distrust when they're here of the concept government, or limited English proficiency. So this will be another kind of like priority for this project, is to really set up workshops and tablings in kind of like that geographic area. And I think we're also developing or identifying a list of locations that will be conducting this workshop at the moment. So we'll be happy to bring back any updates maybe next time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Director Pereira.
Yeah, so are you saying that kind of I guess the rules say that we can't do this outreach ourselves, we have to go to a third-party group to do it?
I think it's more so encouraging you to kind of consider all types of community groups. So make sure, not just having community workshop in the city of Merced, but consider all the, for example, unincorporated communities. Reach out to their MAC. So I think this is the interpretation of that.
Okay, and then have we looked at what it would cost us to have other groups do it versus our staff do it?
Well, I'll just add, and I feel like I'm really loud on my microphone. I'll just step back here. So I understand that the approach is to try to reach parts of the community that our efforts and historical strategies could not or have not reached. So utilizing partnerships with other community groups who are working in different sectors of the communities that maybe we aren't reaching through our traditional, in like our own staffing measures that we do. So if you're asking about is like basically a financial analysis of whether we do it in-house or if we have other groups do the outreach, I think not to my knowledge, because I think the premium has been placed on accepting that those other groups have inroads into parts of the communities that our traditional strategies may not be successful in. So it's yeah.
And
Is that accurate, Shunyi?
I think so. Thank you.
Okay,
And,
Meg. Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Certainly, I can't speak to the financial analysis piece, but I think that we definitely partnered with Youth Leadership Institute intentionally, knowing that they have deep relationships with many organizations that are run by and really work within underrepresented and underserved communities. And I know that there's no sort of shortage of disadvantaged communities within Merced County, but sort of thinking about even the most vulnerable communities, even within a county that is that lights up on Cal and Virus screen. So just thinking about that even the level of engagement that you already have, clearly you're already elected officials, so you are connected to your communities, absolutely. And for this analysis and engagement, the intention is to sort of make sure that even folks that may not be connecting with you or through City Hall or the county, that we do capture some of their voices. And especially with current immigration enforcement is one example, right? There's having trusted partners and organizations and people who are part of the community all the time, I think makes it even more important to ensure that we, for example, for the Title VI analysis, linguistic isolation is one of those key parameters federally for decades. And so ensuring that there are partners who are able to effectively engage linguistically isolated households and hear about their transportation challenges is one of the examples of why we're doing this.
And what's the budget then for this outreach?
I believe
Where's the money come from?
it's through the SB1 formula funding, so that's coming from the state. The total, I believe, is $135 or $145,000, which was on the consent calendar during our last.
That's for the entire contract.
Yes.
Not just the outreach.
Yeah.
So the outreach component, so the entire contract is, I wanted to say it was 132 or 132. So we can get the breakdown of how much of that 135 or give or take is specifically for outreach, if that's helpful. If that's what you're asking, yeah. Okay, we can do that.
Director Nagy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is California the only state that's doing this? How many states do this environmental justice, do these studies?
Shani, do you want to speak to that?
I will.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry. Yes, very good. The environmental justice analysis is a federal requirement in our RTP. Now, we used a grant to kind of do this health and environmental justice analysis for a little bit, a little bit more information. So I know this item's getting long, but if I can just kind of just describe it a little bit. There are two kind of paths that we're going along. One of them, so the first step, which I think you guys will like when you see it, when it comes out, is we are identifying our environmental justice communities, our disadvantaged communities. We don't have to use the Cal Enviro Screen Map. I don't know if any of you have looked at it. It does some weird things that, intuitively you'll be like, well, if this area is disadvantaged, why isn't this one? So we're developing our own map and we'll approve it. We're also going out to talk to the residents in those areas. We're going to develop what we're calling a toolkit of, what are the best ways to reach those residents? Where, is it at the MAC? Is it at a church? Is it, how do we work with these residents in the future, moving forward, and that we use these maps that we selected for, whatever we need to in the future. We're going to take the outcomes of this also and do the federally required environmental justice analysis as part of our regional transportation plan, where we've adopted our maps, right, of where we see as the most disadvantaged communities based on criteria. And then we actually run our projects. We evaluate where we are investing projects. Where are the bike paths? Where are the roads, et cetera, based on those maps to show that we're not giving, a disproportionate burden to the areas that we identified as being the most environmentally disadvantaged. So it is a federal requirement on that latter end. And as Shinyi mentioned, we're using grant funds, and I think it's a benefit, just from my experience and from what we're encouraged to do with Caltrans and others, is to have, a local group doing the outreach. And like we said, we can, of course get the dollar amount, but it's definitely a part of the process. Because they don't know me and Shinyi. Like, we're really friendly. But if we go out to some of the it's the idea that they already know some of the groups, so they're working with us, the youth group. But I don't know if that answered your question exactly. But
Well, my question was what other states were doing it.
All of
you
them.
had to do is say all of them.
oh my gosh,
I mean,
that's what I meant to
that's all
say.
you had to say.
And the District of Columbia. No.
And my other question is that so we're going to do this, and it's a great. I agree and everything. What is the end result? What effect will it have? Will it cancel projects? Will it? I mean, I don't. That's what why are kind of the why are I know why we're doing it, but what effect is it going to have on projects getting done?
So based on my understanding, and Elizabeth and Paige, and Meg, correct me if I'm wrong, is to prove that our planned projects and investment don't have the adverse effect. So it's to prove that our plan and investment doesn't do a bad thing. So a really good example is in San Diego when they construct the I-5 interstate highway. They construct through a neighborhood that's like historically Hispanic and cause a lot of property depreciation, cause a lot of displacement. So this is a thing that we're trying to prevent from doing, so not do. And we're trying to kind of test that through this analysis.
But I would throw out there, if it was, they were still going to put that I-5 there, no matter who lived there. It wouldn't have mattered if it was median income, wouldn't mattered if it was some other nationality or ethnic group. That was the way the highway was going to go. So just throwing that out there.
And if I could just add, I just want to underscore that the state has a tool that identifies where communities are. This is a locally developed tool that will produce a map that our community members on the ground, this board, are like, that we're going to help shape. So it's almost like there's the Cal Enviro screen that has its issues. That's a state tool, and this will be maybe a more refined. More refined. That's the word. It's going to help us understand where they are, and yeah. So I mean, it can sound really scary in some ways because of what we don't know, but what we will know is we'll know more than what we have now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I agree with it. There's so many things the state does at the state level that they don't look at this. And they don't worry. They push fund requests down to our level to make us pay for things that hurt the people that we're looking at. And they think nothing of it. But we have to study it to make sure we don't hurt the people. We're representing those folks. We don't want to hurt those people. So it's great for us to do it, and I believe in it, and I know we all do, but it just kind of irks me that it doesn't go upstream to some of the other entities above us.
That's because you do as they say, not as they do, sir. All right. Any other comments? Is there any members of the public that would like to comment on this item? All right. This was an information item.
Good job, Shani.
So thank you, Shani.
Thank you so much.
We've all been informed. So we will move on now to item 9, TJPA. These are action /items. They'll be considered separately by the board. Public comment will be available during each item. 9A, adopt a resolution number 2025/08-21-02, authorizing the executive director to act as the authorized agent for the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District new alternative fuel vehicle purchase grant program, and a lot of other stuff that you can see on your agenda.
good to have an auctioneer read the agenda.
Serenity, go ahead. Yeah, move to.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Directors. You pretty much said it all there. No, this is, TJPA is looking to replace our 7 transfer vehicles. So these are the vehicles that the drivers use to switch shifts, get around from our operations to, whether it be Merced Transpo, Atwater, Merced College, and again, change out drivers midday. Most of these cars are currently 12 to 14 years old, some being upwards of 16 years. So we are looking to replace them with 7 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrids. We will be going after, as you said in this title, the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District new alternative fuels purchasing. This will allow us to apply for $20,000 per vehicle or $100,000 per agency. So we're meeting that 100,000 threshold, and we will be matching the funds with one of our LC Top programs, which you all graciously approved last month. So we'll be applying approximately $14.2 thousand to each vehicle, and LC Top will be paying for the remaining of the vehicles, or the remaining balance of the vehicles. If there are any questions, I will happily take them.
Right. Any questions for Serenity? Director Pereira.
Yeah. So I guess I appreciate the fact that we're going after hybrid plug-ins versus straight electric. I think that's real smart. And I'm assuming that NAV made a pitch for hydrogen fuel, but that wasn't in the cards.
Cars, I believe it was in the discussion, but cars are so limited, and yeah, but we did think that the plug-ins were the better way to go. For these vehicles, I mean, to be honest, electrics could have worked, but plug-ins gives us that flexibility, so it's great.
All right. All right, are there any questions from the public on this item? Not seeing anyone, we'll bring it back to the dais. So we have a motion by Director Pereira and a second by Director Kale. All those in favor signify by...
I just have a question. I want to make sure there's no fine print that gives the executive director the ability to rent high-end luxury cars.
Noted, sir, noted. All right.
No hidden...
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Next is 9B, adopt resolution 2025/08-21-03, authorizing the executive director as the authorized agent and authorize the Federal Transit Administration Section 5310 enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities grant application submittal for the vehicle replacement project. And we will go to Serenity again.
Okay, well, again, I feel like it was all in the title. You pretty much handled that, Director Silvera. No, we are, with this 5310, we will be applying for 4 cutaways for the microtransit and paratransit services on the west side. Those vehicles are due for replacement. So with this program, we're looking to go after 4 of those, and we will be only asking for half of the funds, so approximately $338,000, and we'll be matching that with our capital reserve, which we had planned on using to replace those vehicles anyways, so it reduces the amount that we'll be taking out of our reserve. Again, these are for microtransit and paratransit on the west side, so it does meet the qualifications for seniors and individuals with disabilities, and it will definitely enhance the microtransit services out on the west side. So,
perfect.
Any questions?
Are there any questions for Serenity?
Yes.
Not seeing one, we'll open it up for public comment on this item. Not seeing anyone, bring it back to the dais. We have a motion by Director Nagy, a second by Director Pacheco. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
There's no discussion items, so we'll move on to item 11 on the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority. Is there action items? Create and appoint members to a Regional Waste Authority Master Plan Ad Hoc Committee for the Regional Waste Authority Master Plan Study. And we will go to James.
Good afternoon. And again, Ted, you're doing a great job up here just spelling everything out for us. I'll hit the highlights here. About 10 months ago in October, we came before you, had a discussion about developing a master plan for the Regional Waste Authority. We issued an RFP in February. We were back here in May to authorize the selection of SCS engineers for the master plan study. That contract was approved, signed. We held our kickoff meeting with SCS on July 8th through the 10th. They had 4 folks that came out and spent 3 days with me touring the sites. We spent a lot of time in the truck looking over the operations, looking over the facilities, discussing it. Got a lot of great feedback from them. They were very complimentary of our operations and our people. That was really the thing that stood out to them. They just constantly were giving praise to the way our folks operate out on the site and the way they were treated. What we do want to do, though, is as we move forward, as we discussed, this is going to be about a year-long process of gathering data, going back and forth. What we'd like to do is establish an ad hoc committee of at least 4 and 5, if that's what the board desires, folks to kind of help us as stakeholders in this process.
Okay. I want to nominate Director Pereira to be on there. Any other volunteers? I think also, I know he's not here, but I think Director Amabil would be a good one to have on there, so that we at least get, I know we have some east side and west side representation on there. Is anybody else? Director Serrato is interested. Anybody else? I think I want to be on there too. So that gives us 1, 2, 4.
And 2 east, 2 west.
Yeah. So that would be, I'll make that, those names as a nomination. Is there a second? I'll second. We have a second by Director McDaniel. Would the members of the public like to comment on this item? And I trust, James, that once you get things rolling, it doesn't need 5.
I'm just missing the 4th one. Serrato, Amabil, Silvera.
Per.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys will just make sure that you get it on everybody's calendars and do all those things to kick it off. All right. No members of the public. We'll bring it back to the dais. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
There are no discussion items. Sir.
James, I'd just like to highlight, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have to go out to the landfill, and I want to say it was a little busy, and they were very good at managing at the beginning, opening up different lanes and moving folks with bigger loads over to one side, and I just want to compliment you on that. I thought they did a really good job in moving us through there.
You know, we're continuously looking to improve, and as we go through this master plan and we look at some things, we will look at ways of being able to maybe add some technology to help that process.
Yeah, this
because it is that's kind of
a Saturday afternoon, and I was afraid to go out there. I'll tell you, but I was very impressed. There was a lot of folks, a lot of traffic, and they were out in the front moving people. Like, bigger load, you go over here. Oh, you got a small load, you go over here, and it went really well.
Great to hear. Thank you.
All right. Item 13, Executive Director's Report. Stacy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple quick things. One, if you've noticed, we have a new face over here. I just want to point out that Martha is our transit admin assistant. So she's next door, but it looks like she's getting some cross-training today. So she's been with us for a while, but I'm glad to see the team cross-training. Also, I wanted to mention that, and I'm going to look at Elizabeth and Nav to confirm with me that because of today's direction on the RTIP, we do not need a September board meeting. Mary Michael, Nav, Elizabeth. Okay, so we knew there was a conflict. It was going to be depending on whether or not we got through some of the items or needed additional discussion. So we will not have a September meeting. We'll get that removed off of your calendars, and Emily can betray me and go to a Bills game without me. So that's where she'll be. I also wanted to mention that the public comment that we received earlier that referenced the information that has been corrected, he's been notified. We thanked him for the pictures, and we got that taken care of. You've already received calendar invites, but you will, now that get on the other side of this, you'll be getting more information from me shortly on the plan, as we are now the host for the California Transportation Commission in October 16-17. Yes, it is the same day as our board meeting, but we will be working on a tour the morning of the 16th. We will only have a brief time, but Commissioner Eager has specifically asked to see AME and the inland port. So we're going to build a couple, hopefully 59, 99, couple of other kind of components there. And then we will break and then start their meeting at 1 o'clock. We will be asked to provide a welcome. And then our board meeting will start at 2 o'clock because, well, not our board meeting, we have a workshop on the master plan. So that will be at 2, our board meeting at 3, and then 5:30, we will have a reception with the CTC commissioners that are in town. So there's just going to be a lot of activity. So I added it onto your calendar. You might have said, what the heck is this? I just wanted to hold so that you knew that it was coming and more details to come. Also want to mention, I know there was some talk about AME and some of the issues we've been dealing with, and now with the federal waiver that has disrupted progress on projects. Just if I don't talk about it a lot, it doesn't mean that we aren't spending an inordinate amount of time trying to help. We're working very, very closely with the county staff, with our state lobby, our advocates, our federal advocates. We're all on it, and we have been for a while. So just more to come, hopefully there, including making sure that we have talking points for those of you who are able to go on the tour about how to speak about the project in like the ways that we need to trigger those key points when it comes to the inland port and all of that kind of stuff. And with that, I'm done.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Welcome. Director's report, Director Pereira.
Yeah, just on the federal waiver deal, I had our district board meeting this morning, and kind of the sense is that the feds and the states are just at a loggerhead because nobody wants to say uncle, and so it may be a lot longer battle than it really should be. So, anyways.
Thank you. Director Strato, anything? No. Director Pacheco.
I just, earlier in the week, I got a question about the Eureka rest stop, so I reached out to Stacy, and she put me in touch with her, and I just want to say thank you for getting that information quickly, and I'll get it back to that gentleman because he wants to use those rest stops. So thank you very much, you two, for doing that. Thank you.
Director McDaniel.
Nothing.
Director
Yeah, so with the federal waivers and air quality, I did attend the CalCog meeting as the representative, and that was a topic of a discussion, and I passed it out to my colleagues, the report that was done by the Sacramento COG that really puts together a really good set of FAQs because it was really, and when you read that, it's written in a way that it's not as technical as it's really good information. And then also I know that Congressman Gray provided an op-ed on why it's important that we work together on this and why the progress being stalled is going to impact us. So I think it needs to be highlighted significantly because it's not just the AME project that's affected by this. It's a lot of other projects here in the county, but then also really the state. So I think it's something that we should really highlight. So thank you.
Director Nagy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to credit Stacy's staff. Great presentations today. The gentleman that wrote in, thinking about that, he didn't have any quarters, but he looked on the website to see how much it cost ahead of time. Well, then why didn't he have quarters?
One of the mysteries of the universe.
Very good point, sir. Director Kale?
I want to say that Director Nagy always confuses me. That's all.
Okay. All right, the only thing I want to just remind everybody is I know I have my county colleagues here, but my city colleagues is, don't forget about those CMAQ. It's on your page 141. The call for projects is released on the 22nd, which is in a day or so. That's tomorrow. And then the deadline for applications is the 26th. So remind your staff that it's an opportunity to apply for those projects. And with that, we will now adjourn our regular session and go into closed session. So if you don't have business in the closed session, I would ask you to kindly leave the room. All right, we are now back in open session. On our 2 closed session items, staff was given direction. With there being no further business, we'll adjourn the meeting at 5:02. Thank you.